Welcome back, DPReview TV viewers. Chris Nichols here.
And Jordan Drake here.
And the lighting is really crap because we are coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. We're in Kyoicho. We were flown out here by Fuji, full disclosure, to take a look at the launch of the GFX 100. Hey,
we haven't had a chance to actually go take this out shooting.
No, we're going to shoot it
We've had some
tomorrow.
time to get our hands on this, and we want to talk about a few things that you might miss if you're just looking at the spec sheets, which you can find on DPReview.com.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the body first.
Yes.
I mean, you can see it right here. This is very much reminiscent of like a 1D Canon, a high-end Nikon Pro body. It really just feels and looks like a Pro DSLR.
For sure. And, you know, like any of those solid cameras, fully weather sealed, full magnesium shell. They did an interesting thing, though. All the ports are fused into the magnesium shell, which is supposed to make them stronger. And the other thing that's interesting is the sensor, of course, does have Ibis. This is the first, I think, medium format camera.
Stabilized, yeah.
Yeah, so it's got a separate magnesium frame that the sensor and Ibis module are linked onto. It's dampened, and then it goes towards the actual full frame of the body.
We've got a very high-end LCD on this, over 2
5.3
million dots.
Now, the viewfinder is removable, and I know a lot of you are wondering, can I then put this high-res viewfinder on my older GFX 50S? The answer, we've got confirmation from Fuji, is no. It actually will not work on the older bodies. So I love the design. It's very slim, but it's not going to fit on the older body.
Yeah, it's also kind of nice. We do have the tilt screen that we saw previously on the GFX 50S.
For sure.
So you can also get a vertical tilt with that if you want to do some upright shooting, which is nice because we do have an integrated grip, which is kind of a point of contention for Chris and I.
Well, you know, I never really like integrated grips, but Fuji is stating that it was very important to create this in order to make the size for the Ibis system to work. It does take two of the same batteries that you would find in the GFX 50 system. And what I do especially like about it is you can charge those with either a supplied external charger or actually through the USB-C port. It'll run off 1 or 2 batteries, and they're saying with a full grip with 2 batteries, about 800 CPA rated shots.
Yeah, now it is a bummer that there's only a single charger included with it, but hey, throw one in the body with USB charging, one externally. Now the grip here, I'm not crazy about the vertical grip on it. I found when I was using this camera that I would usually just shoot it in its traditional orientation and actually just use it like the grip wasn't there. I found this one much more comfortable. This one I find a little bit thin and slippery.
I don't like vertical grip, so I like to crane my hand over anyways. But when you hold this, yeah, your hand does slip right against it. It's cold and uncomfortable. It does make the camera look a little slimmer and really sexy, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful camera.
It's a very uncomfortable vertical grip, and if you're really into that, you're not going to like it. The controls in general on the back are very similar to what you would find on like an X-T3 or an XH1. However, Fuji has definitely gone with a more minimalistic design here. They really reduced a lot of the controls, and I think the first thing you're going to notice, no classic retro dials. You don't have the ISO knob.
Which is kind of the Fuji signature. It's what defines them.
You don't have the shutter knob. Now, what you do have is on the top LCD panel, you actually do have virtual dials, which is cute. It's a throwback.
It's nice if you're transitioning over.
They're really making it work like what we would consider as a more traditional SLR now, like a Nikon or a Canon SLR. You're using electronic control dials. Some people are not going to mind. They're going to say it's very functional. Other people who really love the Fuji aesthetic are going to find that kind of a step back.
Well, they're clearly trying to bring this into a new market. It seems to be their goal as opposed to their existing GFX, APS-C customers, things like that. We've got dual card slots on this guy, both UHS 2. Because these are such huge files, was kind of surprised that we didn't see a CFast or an XQD card on it. But the buffer in the camera is decent. We want to actually take that out in the field and see if it slows us down. You can stay tuned for that episode coming up very shortly. On the side panel here, we get, kind of interestingly, a headphone jack, mic jack. It is still a micro HDMI port, which I'm not crazy about. This is a big body. It would be nice to have something a little more secure. But they're definitely thinking about video people with this body, and we'll talk about that in a bit.
You know, I think the big thing, of course, that everybody's going to really latch onto here, it is a 100-megapixel sensor. It has a full phase detector array. And what I mean by that is the phase detector array actually covers 100% of the sensor. This is quite rare, actually. I mean, most sensors will give you maybe 90% or 95%. So you're not going to have any switching to contrast detect if you get to the extreme edges trying to focus. We are going to test what that's like, but I hear it's got the same quad-core processor as the X-T3, so it should focus very similar to that, although it is going to be very lens dependent. And keep in mind, with medium format lenses, we're talking about, big elements, lots of glass to move.
Yeah, the other thing that's kind of nice is we're going to see a lot of the advantages we saw on the XT30 recently. It's got the much more quick eye detect on it.
Yes.
So whether or not the lens is moving to where you want it to be fast enough or not, it's detecting eyes and it knows where it needs to go. Continuous tracking looks quite nice too, but we really want to test this with something like the 100 to 200 lens and really have a better idea.
Yeah. But when you add on things like Ibis, which has never been seen before, and what promises to be a much faster autofocusing system, perhaps we're getting to a medium format camera that now has more applications than just studio and classic commercial work.
Yeah, I think what's really cool about this is we know a lot of people with medium format cameras, but it's always in addition to their full frame or APS-C system, something that's a little more flexible, a little faster. Here we've got all those advantages, and they've got the video capabilities as well. So they're really kind of making it into, okay, this is your primary camera that you can bring with you to most jobs.
Yeah.
And it'll be able to fulfill that purpose. It really reminds me of back when photographers were looking at something like the 1DS series from Canon, which focused just as well as their sports cameras. A little slower to shoot. This is a 5 frame per second camera,
Sure.
although only at 14-bit if you're shooting that, but still very capable for most types of photography. And I was kind of surprised. The video specs are better than really anything that we've seen on a medium
Sure.
format camera. This can record internal 10-bit in H.265. It is 420 if you do that, but you're still getting autofocus in video when you're working with this.
All the profiles, F-Log, you can still get 422 if you go to an external recorder.
You get the Eterna profile if you want to deliver very quickly. We've got the same preamps as the XT3, so the audio, if you do need to run it into camera, looks quite good. So it all just kind of comes back to that. I keep seeing that over and over. This is the one camera that you can bring with you to any job. And as long as you're cool dealing with enormous 100 megapixel files, 16-bit raw files and TIFFs, then this is something that's going to be able to handle almost anything that you can throw at it. Also very rugged. This is a camera that's not meant to be sitting in the studio like your traditional Phase and Hasselblad cameras.
Now, I should mention, we do now have these two LCD displays. Now, one on the top, which is very traditional, one on the back here as well. But these are quite interesting. You can actually customize them to do things like switch up your histogram. The top LCD panel, for example, it actually has a button right next to it here. When you push this, unlike how Fuji's have always had articulating dials, this one I can actually click it to automatic, and then I can hit this button and it will cycle between either full manual control with these dials or assigning them to an automatic function. So this is essentially how you're going to navigate between aperture priority, program, shutter priority, and manual. The back LCD here, you can actually customize this to have 6 tiles or 8 tiles, and you can even have it be your live histogram. So this is a cool way to clean the screen on the back and not have so much junk on there, make compositions easier. I mean, they're making advantage of the extra real estate they have here on this camera.
One thing I found really interesting is on the top dial, we've got their stills, movie, and multi. Now, the multi right now is for bracketing, things like that. Multi-shot, where you're actually stacking images. Not the most useful functionality. What's really exciting to me is that this is a high-resolution camera with a built-in stabilizer, and we're seeing from more and more of the companies out there, that means the potential for a high-res multi-shot mode. Hopefully that's something that they can unlock. Apparently there's no physical restrictions of that. It's a matter of getting the R&D together to get a multi-shot mode in it. This camera, capable of shooting 400 megapixel images. I mean, it's for reproduction work and things like that, where you've got a static subject. This could really be the best option out there.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, again, this is early launch, right? Fuji can't really confirm or deny, but they're basically saying, look, this is something we're looking at. This is something we're very interested in. And I would say there's fairly strong hints that we should keep in mind that this is possible and might very well become reality very shortly. Now remember, tonight, this is just our first impressions. This camera has just launched. It is still pre-production, but we're excited to play with the features tomorrow. I know Jordan wants to get in touch with a lot of the video features. There's a lot of promise there. The camera overall is bulky, but it feels like it's ergonomically quite interesting. There are some features that I feel are form over function, but visually, it is a striking and sexy body. So stay tuned for that. That video is coming very shortly. Don't forget, ask us questions, leave comments below, Twitter, Instagram, and please subscribe. We will look at those questions and we will try to address them in our video over this weekend in Japan. Until then, see you soon.